Hello, everyone. We'll get started in 4 minutes. Again, waiting for everyone to join us. Okay, let's get started a little bit. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Cyberwatch series. As we talked at the last webinar, we try to prepare a Discord channel because we are trying to create a cyber threat intelligence community with you guys, but the Discord channel is not ready yet, unfortunately, for some technical problems. But in a couple days, I believe it's going to be ready, and I'm going to share the link with everyone in the next webinar, hopefully. And also, we are trying to prepare another training after the dark web webinar, which is going to be cyber threat intelligence for SOC. It's going to be on the SOC Radar Academy again. And also, we in 27th, April 27th, we are going to do another webinar. As you know, ChatGPT is very popular nowadays, and we prepare something for this and how you can use ChatGPT for cybersecurity. Depends on what you work for: pen testing, bug bounty. If you're a CISO, how you can use it as a CISO. We are going to ask you also questions like if you want a webinar about the ChatGPT, what would you like to see in this webinar? We are going to ask that question later. Also, after this webinar, you guys asked me to prepare a blog post. Like, as you know, we are trying to bring the most important cyber incidents in this dark web and the surface web in last month. You guys asked me if you can prepare a blog. We can follow up what you're talking about, because our webinar is short time, and most of the time I can only bring the headlines, but you want to see the details. So I prepared a blog post for you. I believe it's going to be published tomorrow in the SOC blog, also in my Medium. So after this month, every month, I'm going to prepare this newsletter for you, and you can follow up. You can see the details, my sources in there, and you can do your own search. So without further ado, let's get started. What happened? Most important 10 incidents in the cyber area last month, I'm sorry. So one of them is the DEV 1100 that enables the high volume item attacks. It's an open source phishing kit called DEV 1110 that was recently discovered by the Microsoft. That's a phishing kit, is a set of tools that cyber criminals use to create convincing fake websites that mimic legitimate websites such as banking and e-commerce sites. The goal is to trick users into entering their personal and financial information, which the criminals can then use for fraudulent purposes. They make an announcement on the dark web, actually in the Telegram channel, their Telegram channel, for security purposes. We just blacked them out where it is. But we realized they are selling this phishing kit only for $100. So what makes this phishing kit unique is that it uses machine learning to adapt its phishing tactics to increase its success rate. For example, it can analyze which techniques and content are working to convince users to enter their information and adjust its tactics accordingly. It makes it particularly dangerous tool in the hands of cyber criminals, as it is generate high-volume AI-powered phishing campaigns that are more likely to discuss. So this is from the research perspective, it is very interesting and amazing. So as you know, ChatGPT, after the ChatGPT, AI tools are getting very popular, and every week almost like more than 200 tools are published. Also, the criminals getting adapted this, so they're developing phishing kits with the AI power. From the research perspective, from my perspective, this is amazing. This is not just regular phishing kit. Phishing kit, this can adapt, analyze the inputs, and change its tactics and techniques. So this is what was the license was sale on the $100, but the tool itself, actually, it is available free online, and there are some concerns that could be lead to increased phishing attacks. That's for sure. And organizations should be vigilant and implement robust security measures to protect against such attacks. This including training employees and how to spot phishing attacks. As you know, cybersecurity awareness trainings are crucial, and this has to be done oftenly. Also using multi-factor authentication and investing advanced phishing technologies also important. So this is another interesting news from the research perspective, because they used to shut down the websites, dark web on the criminal side, as you know, the law enforcement. But right now, law enforcement also changed their strategy. So instead of just shutting down the criminal websites or hacker forums, law enforcement agencies deploy their fake marketplaces. dark web forums, hacker forums. So this is the one of its kind. This is the first one, I believe. The United Kingdom's National Crime Agency, NCA, has created fake distributed denial of service website to identify the cyber criminals who are involved in DDoS attacks. So from the defense perspective, this change strategy is amazing for me because, as I said before, the law enforcement agencies were kind of passive. They just tracking down the cyber criminals or seizing the websites, but they are getting more proactive. So they created the fake DDoS website to identify the cyber criminals. They created 25 fake websites, fake websites so far, and they look like legitimate DDoS for hire services. So they also published making announcements. They're looking like, let's do business together. Let's do the partnership together. They offer some jobs. They say if you have some initial access or if you have something to hack your company, share with us. They established some kind of websites. So they hunting down the cyber criminals very proactively with the strategy. As I said, so far they created 25 websites, which is all fake, just to hunt down the cyber criminals. They said they have worked with the hosting providers, ensured that the fake websites were not actually capable of launching real DDoS attacks. Also, as you know, there's a takedown services. We offer that as well as a SOC radar. So if somebody is going and open a website with your domain name or your trade name, we can take them down. So the law enforcement agencies work with hosting companies. So the hosting companies are not taking down their websites because those are for law enforcement operations. The another reason is they actually not doing, of course, not DDoS attacks. They ensure that the fake websites did not cause any harm or legitimate sites on the internet. Instead, the websites were designed to log users' activity, IP addresses, and other useful information investigation that could identify the cyber criminals. As you know, DDoS attacks are a form of cyber attacks where websites are flooded with the traffic, resulting in the website becoming unavailable. And DDoS attacks are commonly used by the cyber criminals, especially if you remember, there's a once I did a webinar about the evolution of ransomware. So there's a type 1, type 2, type 3 ransomware, and one of them is for example, you pay the money, they give you the key. If you don't pay the money, they make it public. In the second stage, if you don't pay the money, if you refuse it, you can say, okay, you publish my data publicly. That's not a problem. I'm not going to pay you. So in stage 2, they threaten you with the DDoS attack because making the public your data is not scaring you. You're not afraid of it. Your organization. This time they tell you, if you're not going to do that, we are going to attack your websites or service with the DDoS attacks. So DDoS attacks commonly used by ransomware operators and the APTs. That's why they focus this kind of websites. And the usage of fake website, DDoS websites, is the way to deter cyber criminals to considering the DDoS attacks in the future. They're gonna, of course, they're gonna use the DDoS attacks in the past and in the future. So this law enforcement agency is using this strategy. It is very clever, I believe. And the strategy of creating fake websites or honeypots, honey traps, is not new, of course. It is old, but it has been used in the past to catch criminals in the numbers of field. Especially honeypots are very popular, as you know. With the honeypots, we can analyze as a researchers black hat hackers strategy, tactics, and techniques. But I believe this is the first time law enforcement agencies using these tactics, and it is significant development fighting against the cyber crimes. It shows the authorities are willing to take proactive measures to catch the cyber criminals, and they are eager to think creatively to do so. While it remains to be seen how practical this approach will be in the long run, but it's an essential step in the tackling the problem with the cyber criminals. So another big news, as you know, breach forums. We constantly monitor in the SOC radar breach forums because most of the data breaches are published in there. And its admin is Pompomprine. Maybe you heard of his name. And finally, he found by the federals and arrested. So there was some argument if the bridge forum is over, if there any other platform is going to replace the bridge forum. Before the bridge forum, if you remember, there was a raid forum. That raid forum was seized by the law enforcement agencies again. After the raid forum, bridge forum take over its place, and it was very popular. But with the arresting its admin Pompomprine, there are some arguments. So what happened exactly? There was a guy whose name is Pompomprine. He was the admin of the bridge forum, and he was arrested in his New York apartment, I believe. And in the bridge forum, as you know, you can buy, sell, trade stolen personal data, credentials, other sensitive information. And the website has been active since late 2016 and was known to have traded in a variety of illegal products and services. The charges against Pompomprine include conspiracy, racketeering, and various computer fraud and abuse charges. It is alleged that he was one of the primary admins of the Bridge Forums website and was responsible for overseeing its day-to-day operations as well as maintaining its infrastructure and security. According to the court documents, law enforcement officials were able to identify Pompomprine after months of analyzing an online activity linked to the Bridge Forum platform. The investigation was reported carried out by the task force, federal and international law enforcement agencies, which is including FBI, Department of Justice, and National Crime Agency in the United Kingdom. I believe Europol and Interpol also involve this operation somehow. And the arrest and charging of the Pompomprine are seen as significant victory for law enforcement agencies, of course, in fight against cybercrime. And the Bridge Forums platform was known to be hub cyber criminal activity, and its takedown is expected to have significant impact broader cyber community. But so far, Bridge Forum is not taken down, so it's still available and still up. But there are some arguments. There were some announcements during the week, especially last week. Some platform says we are going to replace it. One of them is the Pound Forums. Maybe you heard of it. Pound Forums says we are going to replace Bridge Forums. But after 2 days, they said they shut down their websites. They are not going to replace it. So Bridge Forum is still up and operating, but maybe in the near future, I don't know. The law enforcement agencies maybe could take it down. Following the recent arrest, our charging alleged Bridge Forum administrator, there has reportedly surge in the number of alternative forums. The Bridge Forum, as I said, one of them is the Pound Forums. While takedown of Bridge Forums was expected, a significant impact of the wider cyber community, it appears platforms have similar services and other platforms, new platforms, they are ready to replace the Bridge Forum. But so far, there was no important alternative to Bridge Forum. But if there will be in the future, I definitely bring your attention. I'm going to tell you, okay, guys, this platform is going to replace Bridge Forum because they have enormous data in their database. They're operating very well. But so far, there's no alternative to mention to you. So that's why I didn't bring any manipulated arguments to here. So Emotet is in the scene again. I published a blog, I believe it was last week. Emotet, one of the most dangerous malware ever created. Emotet is, as you know, really dangerous malware, and it's keep deployed by the operators. And their recent tactic is using the W9 tax forms. It looks like it comes from the IRS. So it is currently being distributed via fake tax forms from the Internal Revenue Services in the United States. These fake tax forms are designed to look like W9 forms, which are used by businesses to gather information from contractors and vendors for tax purposes. Victims receive an email that appears to be from the IRS requesting to fill out the attached W9 tax form. However, the attached form is actually an Emotet malware downloader. Once the victims open the attachment, Emotet is downloaded to the victim's computer and malware begins to execute malicious code. As you know, Emotet is sophisticated banking Trojan. That's how it was created at the first place. This is known for its ability to steal sensitive information for victims, including login credentials, financial information, and it is often used by cyber criminals to steal money from victims' bank accounts to carry out other fraudulent activities. Distribution of the Emotet via fake W9 tax forms is just one of many tactics used by the cyber criminals. Recently, they use Word, they use Excel, and they use OneNote. I explained how they use these applications in my blog in details. Also, you can find the detailed technical analysis in my blog about Emotet. But this, as I said, this is not the only tactic they use to deploy the Emotet. Most of the time, they use the Microsoft tools, Microsoft applications to distribute it. So in this case, it's recommended that users verify the authenticity of the email before opening the attachment. Official communications from government agencies such as IRS and typically include specific language and formatting that can help users identify whether an email is legitimate or not. The use of fake tax forms to distribute Emotet is also a reminder the importance of ensuring that software and security systems are up to date and proper and configured. We have to make sure of it. And keeping antivirus software and other security applications up to date also can help against the latest malwares and the other cyber attacks. So the other thing I like to mention is the dbat loader. It's a new type of malware called dbat loader. Is currently targeting European business and European countries by actively distributing malicious code under the guise of SQL management tools. The malware is especially insidious because it uses the tactics such as loading executables and creating scheduled tasks, and it can run entirely in the memory to avoid detection by antivirus software. Dbat loader actively targets various types of business systems, including HR and accounting applications, with a view to stealing sensitive data. The malware is being propagated through spam campaigns and advertisement and involves obfuscation techniques and prevents detection. The security firm suggests that most of the time business should remain vigilant. Emails are not expected or from unfamiliar senders and various files before executing them. As I said, we are going to publish the blog about the Cyberwatch series. All the topics, you are going to find the details in the blog, and at end of the blog you're going to see the cited sources. The cited sources, in the cited sources you can see the more details about this malware. So again, if you are wondering how this malware works, what are the IOCs, you can find the details in our blog in the cited sources section. They explain in the details. So the other thing I want to mention is fake Microsoft SharePoint alerts. They use this for malware deployment again. This is also a new phishing campaign. It has been identified that the fake SharePoint alerts to trick users into revealing their login credentials. The phishing email look like legitimate SharePoint alerts that request users to review and sign a share file, as you can see on the screen. So the email contains a link that takes users to the phishing page. They harvest their login credentials. The phishing page has the same appearance as the actual SharePoint online login page, And even, this is important, the fake web page even have the valid SSL certification. So before we were checking if this website has not SSL certification, it most probably was fake. But right now, cyber criminals adapting the valid SSL certification even for their phishing websites. So the details entered in the phishing page were retrieved by the attackers via script that sends it to the attacker's servers. However, it is not clear yet what the attackers are using the stolen credentials for. We don't know that yet, but all we know is they're stealing all this information. This is not the first time that attackers have used the SharePoint alerts to launch phishing attacks. As you remember, in 2022, there was a one security researcher, Jake Moore. He warned about cyber criminals using fake SharePoint invitations to distribute malware. It is also a reminder that phishing is still one of the most effective way that the cyber criminals use the compromised system and steal data. That's why in the first slide, if you remember, I mentioned about the phishing kit, which can also use AI power to adapt the new strategies. So this was, of course, I believe everyone is this webinar heard of it. ChatGPT leak some conversations, and according to some researchers, some credit card data was leaked to the dark web and the hacker forums. So the researchers have uncovered an unsecure Redis instance belonging to the OpenAI, which led to the data leak of the GPT-3 language model. The instance allows anyone with internet access to control more than a single terabyte of data, including training code, testing code, configuration files, models, and model weights. OpenAI also has confirmed the data leak and stated that the information leak was about the quality of machine learning models, but retreated that no user data has been revealed. So according to the OpenAI official statement, there was no sensitive data at all, no credit card data, but some researchers say some credit card data also leaked, and they also said some conversations between the users and ChatGPT also leaked. So in these conversations, there could be a sensitive data or private data. Among the data found was an OpenAI program announced that the researchers had discovered a way by passing the company's filters to get its GPT language model to generate racist, sexist, and otherwise toxic output. Researchers have described OpenAI's GPT model as having an unprecedented capacity to learn patterns in language input and being capable of generating coherent paragraphs of the text that are extremely difficult to distinguish from the text written by humans. As a result of the leak, OpenAI clarified that the Redis instance was used by the staff to submit and collect jobs from Redis, and true remnants of the confidential data may still be public and accessible, and OpenAI currently perceives no direct security threats to their platform from the leak. This incident highlights the importance of securing data, especially for companies working with sensitive data like OpenAI. Furthermore, the data leak also revealed the high stakes risk and ethical considerations when dealing with large volume of data and AI models that produce language, highlighting the need of the better transparency in AI research. As I said, we are going to talk more about ChatGPT's capabilities, especially in cybersecurity, on April 27th webinar. So you are welcome to that webinar to talk about how AI is shaping the cybersecurity and how you can use it for your own benefits. So there was again, when I say a new APT, when I say new threat actor, what I mean is actually they're not new. Either they used to be a small group, like just script kiddies. Right now, they're too big, and they're promoted to APT, as I say. That's what I mean. So this Bad Magic is a new APT. Actually, they're not new. They're operating since 2016, and they typically target organizations involved in technology, engineering, and international developments. But currently, they are getting attention because their techniques, tactics, and procedures are developing, evolving. So they are getting more advanced, more sophisticated, more dangerous. When they come to that level, that's the time I bring your attention. So before that, it is not wasting time for mentioning about them. But when they come more sophisticated and more advanced, that's the time I'm trying to bring your attention, so you can be careful. So this is the modus operandi of the Bad Magic group. Involves the careful orchestrated series of steps. They start with the phishing emails, as always, most of the time, because phishing is most of the time the first tactics most of the APT groups apply. Moving on to the using off-the-shelf penetration testing tools to gain a foothold in the network. The group circumvents security measures, files under the radar, and maintains low profile by using techniques like stenography. They also packed malware binaries, and they use conventional encryption to hide themselves behind the clouds. So once the group has penetrated the network, they focus on the gaining privileged access, including the domain administrator rights, which enables them to move laterally with less oversight from the network security. The group generally avoids deploying malware. Rather, they rely on the built-on tools, publicly available frameworks to achieve their objectives. The Bad Magic uses infrastructure, malware, and tactics that resemble those of other threat actor groups, namely Helsing and Nikon APTs. Researchers also have discovered the group has ties to the group that was working on behalf of unknown South Asian countries' government. So the group was targeting international diplomatic and government agencies, also some businesses. As always, they have some connections, as we mentioned, with the other APTs. The discovery highlights that the fact that despite being smaller scale, the APT groups like Bad Magic can still pose a risk organization cybersecurity protocols, which may incorporate combination of different threat models. The use of publicly available tools and the avoidance of custom-made malware might make such groups more difficult to detect, and emphasizing the ongoing need for robust security protocols and situational awareness. So 0 days. 0 days are really big troubles for us. I mean, when I say it for us, people in the defense part. So the 0 days keep creating headaches for us. And the Google's threat analysis group has discovered a series of 0-day vulnerabilities that were used to target Android and iOS users with malware. The previously unknown vulnerabilities were leveraged by the small number of exploit developers known to have been involved in the nation-state level mobile surveillance campaigns, including one of them is NSA group of Israel. So attackers use a variety of exploits, including iMessage, which bypassed the native iOS sandbox to allow for privilege escalation and device persistence. In the Android ecosystem, attackers use Chrome sandbox escapes to install malware without using interaction. The group also used exploits that impact devices running Android 4.4 to 5.0 and another that work on the Android 8.0 and higher. This campaign was highly targeted, using phishing and the messaging lures to redirect victims to malicious website that hosted the prosecutor's stage of the attack. Once compromised, attackers could monitor and collect victims' data uses with a wide range of surveillance capabilities. Google stated that has they notified Apple and patched the vulnerabilities in the last iOS updates. They also update their system, Google. Also, the investigation highlights the ongoing presence of the zero-day vulnerabilities in the mobile ecosystem and the sophisticated measures used by attackers to compromise devices. This discovery emphasized that the need of users to ensure their mobile operating systems are up to date and that they exercise caution when clicking on the suspicious links and opening the unsolicited messages. So if your phone and your applications in your phone are not updated, you need to update it immediately. So this was another so this news was all over the internet, and I believe most of all of you already heard of it. There was a leak of the Twitter's source code. It was announced by the Elon Musk, and he said, I believe this was published by the former employee. The employee was using, as you can see on the screen, free speech on to assist. That was his name. They also said we are going to hunt down this whoever published this source code. There was a one special operation, I guess, from the Twitter. They said they are going to hunt and find this person who is responsible for this data leak. So Twitter also, after Elon Musk, has confirmed that it was they were a victim of the security breach, which resulted in the publication of the large amount of the company's confidential data on various underground forums. Specifically, the situation involves the source code of an old version of the Twitter's iOS app. And although it's outdated, the code may reveal previously unknown exploits or potential weaknesses, of course, that could be exploited by the attackers. The incident highlights the risk of the insider threats and the need for appropriate security protocols to maintain the confidentiality of essential information. Again, I did a ransomware evolution webinar before, and while I was talking about the future predictions, I said one of the most important threats in the future for the people in the defensive part is the insider threats, because there are many reasons for that. Because in the defensive part, there's a not fair game between the offensive part and the defensive part. Because in the defensive part, we are getting just salaries, we have work hours. So we do things not as a passion, as a job, but the offensive parts, people are doing this as a passion, and they earn a lot of money. Like the huge amount of money we cannot see in our lives, usually. So for the offensive part, they offer a lot of money to the people in the defensive part, and they just ask, just give us a one initial access. Give us an initial access, we are going to pay you a lot of money, the money you cannot see in your life, just earning by the with your work, by the salary. So I said, in the future, insider threat is going to be a very big trouble for all the organizations, and this is what we are going right now, because this is not because of the money, I believe, but again, still insider threats are going to very big trouble in the future for all the organizations. So this incident can be considered as a insider threat. And after the company has notified relevant authorities, they also informed the related authorities about this incident. And Twitter has also clarified that took swift action to remove any published data, revoke access to the tool set involved, and restricted access to the production environment. And as a part of its investigation, Twitter is also intensifies efforts to identify any downloader of the code, and is taking legal steps to ensure that its customers and partners' confidential information and intellectual property remain protected. So they hunt down not just the publisher, but whoever download the source code from this illegal websites. They said we are going to hunt them down as well. Whoever downloaded, we are going to find them. So this was all over the news again. This was my last slide. Again, if you want to stay ahead of the latest cyber threats, incidents, and receive deep analysis, then it's time you can go to our platform as well, Socrates platform, because most of the data I'm collecting this webinar I am getting from our platform. By subscribing, you will receive regular updates on the latest cyber threats, malware, and vulnerabilities. Also, our cybersecurity expert provided up-to-date analysis and reporting on the cyber threat landscape, as well as comprehensive guides to help you protect your organization and data. In addition, you will receive access to exclusive content, which will help you to stay informed and make better cybersecurity decisions. So maybe, Eren, you can share our link for the platform if anyone can go to the. Yeah, this was the bonus. When I prepared this webinar, I put the 10 topics, but at that time, this Genesis market was not shut down. So after I prepared this webinar, this was another big news, which was the law enforcement agencies from multiple countries, including FBI, Europol, Interpol, and other law enforcement agencies from the world. In Wednesday, they started an operation dubbed as Operation Cookie Monster. They said 17 countries were involved and led by the FBI, and there was 120 arrests and more than 200 searches and almost 100 pieces of preventive activity. Members were arrested by the law enforcement agencies. As you know, Genesis Market is an online forum hosted about 80 million credentials and digital fingerprints stolen from the more than 2 million people. So this was a very important operation. Again, Genesis Market, one of the biggest marketplace in the dark web. Illegal products and credentials, everything was in there. So with this Operation Cookie Monster, they shut down the website, very popular website. Of course, there is immediately there was some other alternatives. They said, doesn't matter, they shut down the Genesis. We have other alternatives already. But so far, to bring your attention, I didn't get a chance to analyze the alternatives. But when I get a chance to analyze, if I, again, like the bridge forms, if I see any alternatives to Genesis Market, I'll definitely let you guys know. So this is all from my part. I hope you enjoy it. Again, tomorrow morning, I believe, there will be blog post. You can find all this news on our blog post and the sources, and you can go to the sources. You can find the details about this news, and you can do your own research. I'll try to make it ready, the Discord server, for the next webinar for sure, and we can keep connect each other with this Discord. What about webinar about Russian Federation China attacks? Sergey, you need to be more specific. This is more than a webinar. This is too big, and not just one of the biggest countries in the world attacks you are talking about. Just talking about the Russian Federation's attacks is gonna take not one webinar, maybe hundreds of webinar series, I believe. So if there's a specific attack you're talking about from these countries, maybe we can do a webinar on that. But I believe it's so broad. There could be, sure. Thank you. Is there any other question, comments, anything? No, I got it. Not in this webinar. We can do another webinar, but the topic is too broad, I believe, because Russian Federation and Chinese attacks are the most of the news we are talking about attacks from those countries already. So this most of the malwares, most of the APTs we are talking in this webinar is originated from either China or Russia. So talking all the attacks from these countries is going to take a lot of time. But instead of doing that, I am trying to bring the most important ones, most noticeable ones to your attention. Otherwise, I can bring you the map, like, how can I say, maybe more than 1,000 attacks just from Russia to Western companies, Western countries, or Ukraine itself daily. Not just one, maybe thousands of different attacks just from Russia daily. So it is impossible to mention about all the attacks. But what I'm trying to bring to your attention is the most important ones. As I said, for example, there are thousands of APT groups. We are monitoring, you can believe me, we are monitoring more than 2,000 Telegram channels for the dark web. So they are talking a lot of things, a lot of those things. But I'm not trying to bring everything to your attention, because even the APT groups, I'm not telling you, oh, okay, there's an APT group, they are dangerous. If they're really dangerous, if they are really sophisticated, if they're really getting dangerous, that's the time I bring your attention. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you for joining. If there's any other question, thank you so much for joining me today, not leaving me alone. Thank you so much. Again, next webinar, I am bringing the Discord channel link to you. Maybe we can communicate more and create more webinars, more trainings and other things. Thank you for joining me again. You guys have a good day and stay safe.